Hi, I'm Hope Witkowski, your host of Senior Scene. Did you know that right here in America, 1.2 million seniors are living in a housing instability? And many of those seniors may lose their home. On today's show, we'll meet a senior who is that close to having that happen and see her story. Meet Sharon, who lost her husband over a decade ago. As a longtime resident of Torrance, she was looking forward to living out her senior years in the comfort of her home. But that was not going to happen. Due to a decrease of finances that she needed to support her times got bad.
I knew right away. I was working part-time, $8 an hour. That doesn't cover anything. And then, Mike's was the main job. He was the main breadwinner. So, yeah, I had to get help, And my son went to work, and my other son was going to come from school. He was going to quit school and college and come home and work. And I said, no, you've got to stay in school. So, I worked part-time, and my other son was helping me, and we were struggling. I remember driving him to work because he didn't have a car. So we went through some pretty rough times there, but we all hung together.
The only non-liquid funds that Sharon had was her home. So she started an online of borrowing that many in her situation are forced to do, even when her husband was alive and laid off work.
We refinanced it twice because once he got out of work. And we ran to the bank and refinanced it, and we found out it was a variable, which is a bad idea. We didn't know any better, and so we did that for a year. So we changed it and refinanced again, and so we refinanced it twice, and it raised the price up every time we did that. So from $75,000, it jumped to $900 a month.
As life went on, the son that was giving her money to live on gave her some wonderful news and then some difficult news. That news would change her life to an even more difficult time than she was living right now.
David called me and said, Mom, we're going to have a baby, and I can't afford to help you with the house payment. I think I had a minor heart attack that night. I was alone, and I prayed, and I cried, and I said, I don't know what to do. I'll have to sell my home, and I don't want to. And the house was run down by that time. It was in pretty bad shape. It had been years since we put anything into it. And so my son, bless his heart, my older son, he put $36,000 into it.
Sharon's part-time job did not resolve the problem of not having enough money to make their mortgage payments and monthly bills.
I would stay probably with the boys while we put the house up. And then, he told me to start looking. I looked at condos, I looked at apartments, I looked at everything. And I cried, and I told my son, it's terrible, there's no windows. If there's a window, it looks at a wall or someone's garage or something, but you have no scenery. Here I have trees, a little bird sitting in the trees over here. And there's just, like they're singing out there now, the little birds. And I love windows. I couldn't stand a place without many windows. And so I was crying, and I told David, I said, I don't want to sell my home. It's terrible. I'd have to get rid of the piano, my buffet. Everything would go. Everything would go. It would just go because these places were like 2x4 cracker boxes. I looked at them. You could put maybe a couch and a chair and maybe a TV, and that's it. They're so small and a lot of money.
Her life became a game of how much money can I save? How can I save in everyday living? What can I do to live minimally and save more money? It was exhausting.
I counted paper towels. Usually buy Kleenex, paper towels and napkins. No, paper towels. TV dinners, 2 for $5. I cut back tremendous. I didn't go out, didn't go anywhere. A couple times, I'd walk up to the place to get maybe a hamburger, but, once a week, I could have one little hamburger once a week.
Then health became to give her even bigger challenges. It's a story that can be told by many widows living alone.
Recently, the most recent one was a heart, because they found, my heart wasn't working right when I found what real state I was going to be in, and it scared me, really scared me. And I've got diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, arthritis. I hurt both knees at the school when I fell, and that's why they let me go. That's another thing that happened. They let me go at the school because I fell. And so gradually, as time goes on, I keep getting more health problems because I'm like, ugh, stress, stress, stress. What can I do? And now there's more things with the house, that have to be fixed.
Finally, the event that would change her life forever, a phone call by a family member that opened up a new door to possibilities of her keeping her home forever.
My goddaughter, my girlfriend's little girl, I was her godmother. She called me long distance from Davis, California, and she said, Sharon, I hear this organization helps seniors, and that you could rent your rooms out and they could live there. Oh, great. So she gave me the phone number, and I called Marion at ALL, which is Affordable Living for the Aged, and she came right out and interviewed me. And I told her, look, I'm fixing the house. It doesn't look like it does now. We're working on it. So maybe in the summer I'll be ready to rent. And so she kept my number, and I called her when I was ready, and I was so happy. My boys convinced me. He said, this is a great organization because they interview everybody, and they do background checks, extensive background checks.
Affordable Living for the Aging is a home share program that matches seniors who have extra space in their home to individuals looking for affordable housing. How special for Sharon to get this lead from her goddaughter. She made a call and met Cynthia, the ALA program manager. Cynthia gives us an overview of how this program is going to help Sharon.
There are really two models. There's straight room rental, which is what I did, and probably what Sharon did. And then we also have what we call our service exchange, where a senior who now needs some assistance to stay in their home, maybe they need a little help with the cooking, cleaning, laundry, chores, maybe they no longer drive and they'd like someone who still drives. We'll try to match them with someone that will provide those services to them, still pay them rent for the room, but at a reduced amount, and that keeps a senior in their home for as long as possible, while at the same time providing an affordable housing alternative for a senior who's seeking housing.
There are safety checklists to protect the senior who'll be renting out a room in their home to a totally unknown person.
We vet all clients, so I meet the home providers in their homes like I did with Sharon. We discussed her living preferences. I inspected the property, made sure everything was in working order. And that conversation and interview helps me introduce her to compatible housing seeker candidates. I meet all of them in my office. We conduct background checks on all clients, make sure that no one has an eviction on their record, no criminal activity. We conduct reference checks and collect income documentation so that we're working with pre-vetted clients, pre-screened clients. No one who doesn't pass through that process is considered for the program.
One big advantage for those homeowners and renters working with Cynthia is that she was one of the ALA clients who rented out her home to help with her financial difficulties at the time.
I was actually a housing provider, meaning that I rented an extra room in my home. I had worked for 30 years in the legal field, and the attorney that I worked for passed away suddenly, and I couldn't find a job. And so after some years of trying, I decided I had to do something because I had a mortgage. And when I had joined the Culver City Senior Center, I saw an ad for affordable living for the aging in their newsletter. And I called Miriam Hall. And I rented out an extra room in my home for 2 years.
The big help comes to Sharon as she gets the word from Cynthia that they have 2 female renters interested in renting out 2 of her bedrooms. They've already gone through the vetting process to make sure there'll be no surprises for Sharon.
Our service is mutually beneficial for both the home provider and the housing seeker. For the housing seeker, they can pay a reduced rent in a very unaffordable county. The average rent in Los Angeles County right now for a 1-bedroom is about $2,000 a month. Our renters on average pay about $600 a month for their rooms. That $600 a month is also a bonus, a financial boost for the home provider of $7,200 per year.
Meet Nikki, one of Sharon's room renters. Nikki has financial problems that has challenged her to find solutions by applying to the ALA to give her help finding affordable housing.
When I retired from my job and shortly after, I decided to go to Arizona. I had worked and lived in Arizona for a year, and I really liked the place. So I decided to go to Tempe, Arizona, and found myself coming back here over and over again for family, friends, and personal appointments. So I decided to move back again. But when I left, the rents were about $1,000. When I came back the second time, they were around $1,300 for the same amount, same place. Not the same exact place, but comparable. So I stayed here, and there was a death in the family, and my niece had asked me to if I would consider to help her with her new baby. And so I moved again, and I went to Nevada. Stayed there for a good portion of the year, and I was coming back again back here. So I decided to move back, and the rents were just outrageous. That time when I came back, they were just skyrocketed so much. So I had asked around and was pointed to the 211 number. The 211 number is social services. And in social services, you will find retirements for seniors, and affordable living. And with the retirement homes that were provided at the time, weren't in this general area. They were a little bit further out. Some of the senior citizen homes that I did like, they're 1 and 2 year waits on that.
For Nikki, the call to ALA was so wonderful. She felt like this would be the way to make her finances fit her biggest cost, finding an affordable place to live without being an inconvenience to her children.
I called ALA and went up and interviewed with Miriam and filled out the proper paper, and when the security checks and stuff came back, she gave me the list of homes that were available, and it's home share. And so when I got the list, I made appointments with certain people and interviewed with Sharon. And the rest is history, and I've been here for about 15 months with Sharon.
Many may be thinking what it would be like to move into a home and only have one room to yourself. For Nikki, that would be a small bedroom. What was her privacy like?
There's 2 lists, one with just the rooms available and the one with chores, duties, and companionship. There's not really a lot out there. I mean, I wish more people would think about this. So as far as privacy, that's a big deal for me, to have privacy. And that's why I like the room that I do have, because there's a side out. And I'm gone every day, probably 4 to 5 days a week with my family. I meet them there, I don't bring them here. So as far as like with Sharon, we bump into each other in the hallways.
Sharing a home with 2 other women can cause many to wonder, how long can that last? The fact that this arrangement gave many seniors with financial challenges the opportunity to pay bills or have a little fun that would never be available were it not for this type of help.
I'm definitely going to move from here. I haven't really decided. I want to go to New Mexico. I've worked in Arizona and in Las Vegas, and I like to go to New Mexico. My mother was born there. And this allows me the extra money allowed me to get on the train, which is, I've checked it out, it's $91 one day. And I wonder if you have to stand up for $91, But I imagine there's different fees for, And as far as the money extra would be, I got to do a couple of root canals. Mm-hmm. The budgeting is a little bit better rather than, in doing it with paying a full price.
Now comes the planning for the future, which seems to look bright and promising for Nikki. Thanks to this help in lowering her living expenses,
I was forecasting what my life would look like in 10 years the other day, because sometimes you get into a little rut. I think we all do. And so kind of thought about what I was going to do. Of course, the job is always, I'm a licensed X-ray tech for the state of California as well. I'm just really curious. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I haven't used the license for a couple of years, so I'm thinking, gee, this will allow me to, get that license. It's very expensive to keep up, but they put it in a mode for 5 years if you're not using it. And it was really a tough license to get. And then recently I went to the Harbor Division for a meeting for Harbor Lights to volunteer for that.
On today's show, we saw how Susan was helped by this wonderful nonprofit organization, ALA. It's so nice to know that there are agencies like that it will help seniors who get into a financial bind toward the latter part of their life. I'm Hope Witkowski reminding you, knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in to Senior Scene next time for more secrets on successful aging.